Hello yogis and yoginis. Today I'm going to walk you through a short tutorial on Chaturanga Dandasana. This is a shape that we see show up in almost every single one of our vinyasa flow practices. So it's important that when we are doing our chaturangas, those low push-ups that you see as you flow through your vinyasas in your classes, that we're practicing those with the proper alignment. This is a shape because it is effectively a weight-bearing arm balance, that if we do incorrectly over time, we can begin to put strain on the tendons that connect the front side of the body to the biceps. And ultimately, with repetition, if we aren't practicing correctly, we can begin to damage our rotator cuff, so the shoulder and all of the muscles connected into the tendons there. So I'm going to walk you through some ways to find the proper alignment using blocks and a strap. So if you have blocks and a strap at home, you're welcome to grab those to follow along with ways to make sure that you are finding those perfect places for your chaturanga. And if you don't, just watch, and the next time you're in the studio, you can play with the props. You can also do this without props. So to begin, I'm just going to demonstrate the shape, and then I'm going to show you some of the ways that we often can do this shape that are potentially damaging for us in the long run. So, Chaturanga Dandasana. When practicing with proper alignment, the wrists are directly under the elbows are directly under the shoulders. We're going to pull back through our heels. This is that high plank shape that you see show up in so many of your classes. And then from there, we're going to bump our head forward slightly. We're going to come down, keeping a 90-degree angle on the elbows, hugging the elbows under the rib cage, not going too low, staying lifted, keeping the butt lifted. The core is really nice and strong. You're also welcome to practice this on the knees. Often what we see with Chaturanga is when we're still working to build strength, or we just don't quite understand that proper alignment, we'll start to see things like this, where you come down, you don't bump the head forward, you keep the head in line here, and then the elbows go back behind the shoulders. That's going to make it really hard to stabilize the shoulder and to hold up your body weight. So ultimately, you're going to end up collapsing onto the belly, and it's not going to feel very strong and stable. Another thing that we see showing up with Chaturanga is this dumping into the lower back and then just collapsing to the floor, right? So if that's happening, we can always just drop to our knees here to find that proper shape. The other thing we see is the butt sticking up to move into our Chaturanga. This is also just something we need to work on pulling down, keeping the sit bones, the tailbone in line with the shoulders. And then ultimately the last thing, the big thing that we see with Chaturanga is those elbows splaying out to the side, right? All things that are going to put strain on shoulders in a way that is not necessarily safe for our practice. So if you have your blocks, we're first going to use the blocks to find that place in our body, to find that proper alignment with the elbow directly over the wrist, where the shoulders and the head bump forward slightly. So I want you to take your blocks, place them vertically. The block is going to be, for most of us, about the length of our forearm. So from here, you're going to find that high push-up position. You're going to place your fingertips just behind the blocks. Now from here, I'm going to keep that 90-degree angle, keeping that elbow directly over the wrist, but I'm going to bump the rest of my body forward. So it's going to look like this. And then I'm going to lower down, hugging those elbows under my ribs, and I'm just going to rest my shoulders on my blocks. Can you see how I have that 90-degree angle with my elbows directly over the wrists? And then if this is too much, you can also play with this by dropping to the knees. So you can find that shape here. So that's really helping us to sort of find that alignment, resting the shoulders on the blocks so that we're not, with that first misconception of Chaturanga, so that we're not coming down here and sinking our low back and our elbows back behind the shoulders. You're really going to bump the head forward so that those shoulders can drop directly onto your blocks. Okay, so first way to sort of find that proper alignment. Second option is to take a strap. This one's really fun because you kind of get to rest with this one. From here, you want your strap to be in line with your shoulders. So you want it to be just wide enough that you're not going to be pulling the arms in too much or out too far to the side. So set up your strap, just hook it in, and then you're gonna take your strap and you're gonna place it directly above the elbow on your triceps. From there, you're gonna find your high plank shape again. So here's my shape. Feet are hip distance apart, lengthening through the crown of the head, pulling the heels back. Just like we practiced with our blocks, we're gonna bump our head forward. Now I'm gonna lower down, and I'm only gonna go as low as the strap allows me to go. And then I'm gonna hover, right? Can everyone see that here? So the idea is that this is as deep as I need to go in my Chaturanga. So often we see in our classes, or we come into our Chaturanga and we go really deep, where our elbows are up past our rib cage, right? So we've gone a little too low. We're putting unnecessary strain on the rotator cuffs and the muscles in the shoulders, right? So we want to go just above those elbows. And I often teach in my classes being able to find this little bounce that it's harder to get when we go too low. So you want to stay lifted. So try not to collapse the belly onto the ground. All right? And then really work with that core. So much of our Chaturanga is about using those abdominal muscles. And if you don't quite feel strong enough to keep the sit bones, the tailbone directly in line with the shoulder blades, like I said at the beginning of this video, just drop onto your knees. And then you can practice Chaturanga here. So, main takeaways. Hug those elbows under the rib cage. Don't let them splay out to the side. Using a strap to feel what that feels like, to hold those elbows in place, is gonna be a really great tool for you. Using the blocks to find that sort of bumping forward so that you're not rocking too far back and losing that 90-degree angle on the elbow and the wrist is another really great tool to find the proper alignment in your Chaturanga. And then being really mindful that you're not sticking your butt up in the air or sagging into the lumbar spine, really engaging the core to keep the backside of the body perfectly flat. Those are all tools that are going to help you to maintain a safe and beautiful Chaturanga as you move through your vinyasas in your practice. So I hope this was helpful, and I'm wishing you all a beautiful day. Namaste.